Hey, and welcome to the Winning Daily Show. We're here for Saturday, September 25th. We got an action-packed show filled with lots of picks and hopefully lots of winners today. We're going to start out in the horse racing field, then we're going to get into Sparky's picks. I feel like he's going to have a big day. We're going to get into my college football parlays, then we're going to get into Dynamite David's picks. We're going to get into my upset specials of the week. Also, my college football picks, which has changed a little bit since Thursday. We got some boxing. We finally got a big fight upon us, or at least hopefully a big fight upon us, and a couple undercard fights that we like on that one, and we got some soccer. So we got an action-packed week to get into here on this Saturday. Let's start out in horse racing. Only one big race on the day, only one I really like to put any money on, and we got the Philadelphia Derby here. A couple good contenders in here. This will be at Philadelphia Park, race 12, Philadelphia Derby. Of course, you've got Hot Rod Charlie in here. He comes in as the favorite. You got Medina Spirit in here, who was the winner at the Pimlico track earlier this year. You got Midnight Bourbon in here. You got Bubonic in here. And then you got a couple new comers in here in Folsom and Keep in Mind in this. So it's a pretty deep race here, but we're going to put our money only on one horse here, and we're going to ride Midnight Bourbon. We love his speed. He's coming off a second in the Tarver Stakes. He's really been good here. He only lost this race to Essential Quality, who essentially beats everyone. So Essential Quality is the only one that's managed to take down Midnight Bourbon, really. Love Midnight Bourbon's results here. Think this is definitely a race for him, so I look for him to be able to handle this Pennsylvania Derby and take down the competition here. Don't love the favorite coming in here, Hot Rod Charlie. Had a bad seventh at the Haskell. Didn't look good there. Bubonic had a third at the West Virginia Derby where he was pretty much favored to win that one. He didn't look good. Medina Spirit could put a little bit of a charge in here, but we'll see how these Baffert horses have done since then. But he is coming off a Shared Belief Stakes win, and then you got the two newcomers in here, Keep in Mind and Folsom. Don't really love those two. Folsom coming off a grade 3 win in the Smarty Jones. He's getting a lot of late love, but really if I was looking for sort of a long shot in there, I think I'd go with the Keep in Mind, who was in that Tarver Stakes that was really deep and ran a good fourth. But my money's on Midnight Bourbon in this race. The number 8, Midnight Bourbon in the Philadelphia Derby, race 12. All right, let's get into some college football, and let's get into Sparky's college football picks of the
Sparky's Olympics. Cash them tickets, y'all.
Week 4, picks I got is Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and I like Notre Dame plus 5.5. Missouri, Boston College, I like Missouri plus the 2. Texas A&M, Arkansas, I like Arkansas minus 5.5. Clemson, NC State, I like NC State plus the 10. UTSA and Memphis, I like Memphis minus 3. Tennessee, Florida, I like Florida minus 20. Nebraska, Michigan State, I like Michigan State minus 5. Kentucky, South Carolina, I like Kentucky minus 5. And West Virginia, Oklahoma, I like West Virginia plus 16.5.
All right, so Sparky had a couple slow weeks. I'm looking for him to have a big week this week. All right, let's get into my college football. Let's start out with my parlays. I'm going to give you four-team parlays this week. We're going to start out with Vanderbilt plus the 35 over Georgia, Richmond plus the 29.5 versus Virginia Tech, Texas Tech plus the 9 versus Texas, and Kent State plus the 14 versus Maryland. Really sort of like that Vanderbilt plus 35.5. There's some sneaky Richmond in there as well. It didn't quite make it to my upset special, but I do like it. Next up, Nebraska plus the 4.5 versus Michigan State. Notre Dame plus the 6.5 versus Wisconsin. San Jose State plus a 4.5 versus Western Michigan, and UTEP plus the 2 versus New Mexico. So that's parlay number 2. Let's get into parlay number 3. We're going with Buffalo minus the 13.5 versus Old Dominion, Utah minus the 15 versus Washington State, Central Michigan minus the 11.5 versus Florida International, and Boise State minus the 9 versus Utah State. So that's 3 of our 14 parlays. Our final parlay, we're going with Army minus 7.5 over Miami, Ohio, Louisville minus 1 over Florida State, UCLA minus 4 over Stanford, and Air Force minus 4 over Florida Atlantic. So those are our 4 parlays for the week. 14 parlays. Let's see if we can hit one. Maybe we can grab 2 and really go into the money. All right, let's get into Dynamite David's picks for the college football Saturday.
Dynamite picks. Boom goes the dynamite.
David here with my winning picks for week 4 of NCAA action. To start it off, I'm going to take the under 68.5 in the Kent State-Maryland game. Next up, I like the over in the UCLA-Stanford game. That's going to be a high-flying, throw-it-around kind of football game. Next up, I like Kansas State plus the 6 in Oklahoma State. I've got a money line parlay in there somewhere with them too. I think Kansas State's going to win this game outright. Number 4, I'm going to take the under 52.5 in the Florida Atlantic Air Force game. Air Force is going to slow this game down, and it's going to be a low-scoring game. I got a double play in the Cal-Washington game. I like Cal plus the 7.5, and I like the under 46.5. This is going to be a defensive slugfest in a terrible weather Washington. It's starting to get cooler. Not a pretty football game. I also like North Carolina to cover the 12.5 at Georgia Tech. I like Western Michigan without their coach to win -3 versus San Jose State. Louisville minus the 2.5 at Florida State. I think they're going to destroy and probably finish burying this Florida State team that's been beaten up all year. I like West Virginia to go into Oklahoma plus the 17.5. And finally, I'm going to take Michigan State minus the 5 versus Nebraska. Those are all my picks. Back to you, champ.
All right, Dynamite David with our picks for Saturday. Let's see if he can get back on track. He started out hot. Let's see if he can find his rhythm again after a bad week last week. All right, so what are we going with on the upset special side of things this week? We're going with Notre Dame plus the 190 over Wisconsin. We got San Jose State plus the 130 over Western Michigan. Texas State sneaking in there at plus the 200 over Eastern Michigan. Kent State plus 450 over Maryland. Rutgers plus 800 over Michigan. That one giving you a whole lot. That went into a 4 overtime game last year. Maybe Rutgers can go in there and sneak one. Arkansas plus the 165 over Texas A&M. Kansas plus the 525 over Duke. Arkansas State plus the 475 on that one versus Tulsa. Think they can sneak that one. Pretty good price there at the 475. South Carolina plus the 165 versus Kentucky. Maybe it's their time. Kentucky has owned them. Let's see if South Carolina can get a home win. Nice plus 165 on that one. Kansas State, most disrespected team in the country, at plus 175 going into Oklahoma State. Definitely think they can get that one. That's a pretty good upset special. Almost 2-1 on that one. Nebraska plus 165 going into Michigan State. This one I really, really like coming up here. Western Kentucky plus 280. Almost 3-1 at home versus Indiana. I think Indiana's struggling. I think Western Kentucky can put some offense up on them. I don't like the way Indiana's playing, so Western Kentucky plus 280. Nice value there. New Mexico State plus 600 versus Hawaii. Don't love Hawaii's travel schedule. Haven't loved how Hawaii's played. New Mexico State's defenses have played pretty well. And new quarterback on offense, looked pretty good last week. Let's see if he can continue that. And lastly, we're going with UAB plus 140 over Tulane. Think Tulane's getting a little bit too much love here. So that's where we're going with our upset specials. Let's get into some boxing before we get into our college football straight bets. All right, on the boxing side of things, good card out in London in the Tottenham Spurs Stadium. Let's see what we got. We're going to start with Maximum Prodam. on the upset special on this one in the boxing world. Plus 450 over Florida Marcoux. Now, Florian Marcoux's got the name, but I think these two guys are about more even than this odds will let on. Marcoux's coming off a very weird draw over Jamie Stewart in England. He's gotten 2 wins in a row since then, but I do think our boy Maximum has a chance here. Romanian guy, has a little bit of power. His competition hasn't been great, but he's also 19-0 with 15 KOs. I think there's good value there in the plus 450 for Maximum Prodam. Next up, we're going with Campbell Hatton by KO, plus 110 over Sonny Martinez. There turns out there is more than one Ricky Hatton, because there's his son, Campbell Hatton. He's going up in his 4th fight. He's been thrown off against pretty soft competition. Hasn't managed a KO here. I think they drop him back down a little bit of a level here, and Sonny Martinez get him his first KO. So there's pretty good value there in the plus 110 value. Now let's get into the big one. The heavyweight championship fight, Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk, the Ukrainian. Really like Anthony Joshua here by KO. Usyk, really good fighter. Really like him. But he struggled just a little bit in his last fight. And I don't think he will be able to stand up to Anthony Joshua in this one here. I just think Anthony Joshua's power will come through. Usyk fought Derek Chioza, close decision matchup. Chorsa really put some shots on him. I don't think Usyk can handle those kind of shots from Anthony Joshua. Chorsa really sort of a spent fighter. In the fight before that, it was Chaz Witherspoon, it was Tony Blue. Usyk's really sort of gone through the old guard of the heavyweights, and he seemed to struggle with Chorsa. Let's see if he can make that step up to Anthony Joshua. I don't think he will. He gets hit a little bit too much, and I think if Anthony Joshua opens up a little bit here, he'll be able to KO him. You're getting decent value here. I would have liked a little bit more, but you aren't going to quite get it because Joshua's a heavy betting favorite in this one. But plus 115 by KO, really like Anthony Joshua here. All right, what are my college football straight bets this weekend? We have a little bit of an alter, added a couple games in there from Thursday's podcast. Let's see what we got. We're going to start out with Mississippi State plus a 2 over LSU. Really like the value in this one. We're going with Toledo over Ball State. Ball State's been really, really poor. Look for Toledo to get their season off in the MAC at -5. Off to a really good start. Purdue minus the 11 over Illinois. I look for them to bounce back off that Notre Dame game. Illinois really struggled on the road going to Virginia. If you watch Virginia play the last couple games, they've really struggled. So I think Purdue will be able to put it on Illinois here going on the road. So like that Purdue minus 11. Iowa State minus 7 versus Baylor. If you watched last night, Fresno State could not really control UNLV's offense. Iowa State might be finding a rhythm. We're able to control UNLV's offense. That -7, I look for them to go down into Baylor and win that one pretty easy. We're going to take Rutgers plus the 20. I just think this will be a close matchup. I think it'll be a tight defensive affair. I think it'll be a close game. Rutgers plus the 20, I really, really like. Kansas Duke. Kansas let me down last weekend. I'm looking for them to bounce back. I think this will be a close game. You watch that Duke game, they got a couple interceptions, got up big on Northwestern. That whole second half, they did not score a point. Barely had to hold on. I think Kansas could cover this plus 16. Kansas State plus 5.5. I mentioned it. I really, really like this bet. Oklahoma State, probably the worst 3-0 team there is. Kansas State, really, really good football team. Look for them to pound Oklahoma State. Look for Oklahoma State to struggle to score on this Kansas State defense. Western Kentucky plus the 9 versus Indiana. Love this pick here. Indiana, I think, is way, way down. I don't even know if they can make a bowl right now. So, plus the 9 for Western Kentucky. Did struggle versus Marshall. They will be back home. That offense should be able to score on Indiana. We'll see if Indiana can score on Western Kentucky. UAB plus the 3 versus Tulane. I think this is the most offline of the day. UAB really should be able to shut down Tulane. Their offense shouldn't come as too much a surprise. It's a conference foe. They've played them numerous times. I think Tulane is a little spent from the travel. Yes, they're home, but they've been on the road for so long. I think that first home game is going to struggle them, and UAB is just the better team. So UAB +3. California +8 goes up to Washington. I think covers this pretty easy. I don't think either of these teams are capable of separating themselves that much. And lastly, we're going with New Mexico State +17 over Hawaii. I mentioned New Mexico State's defense has been playing pretty good football. They put in a new quarterback last week. He was pretty lively. Hawaii has been going from mainland to the island numerous times this year. Once again, going into Las Cruces, trust travel. Let's take New Mexico State +17 in this one. All right, little bit of soccer today. Not a lot I loved betting on. Did get the nice Man City win earlier today, but couldn't get the show out before that one. But let's see what we got. Starting out in Serie A, at Atlanta +275 on the three-way. I can't turn that down. I think Inter Milan has played really well so far, but I still think at Atlanta, a little bit of a better team here. They do tend to get off to slow starts, but I do like at Atlanta here, +275. I think that's way too big for this matchup. I think at Atlanta should be able to at least stay in this game on the three-way, almost 3-1 at Atlanta +275. In the Bundesliga, we're going to ride two home teams. We're going to take Union Berlin -140. Yes, we've rode Union Berlin. Yes, they've been disappointing this year, but I think they're finally going to find a way to get a nice home field versus a struggling Bielefeld, who really should not be able to go to Union Berlin and get a win. So -140 on the three-way on that one. Really like. Byron Leverkusen -140 versus Minz. Really have loved the way Byron Leverkusen has played this year. They still seem to get a little bit disrespected in the Bundesliga at home. Yes, Minz has played pretty well this year, but Byron Leverkusen has played better and is a better team. So -140 on the three-way. Really like. And lastly, in the Premier League, we're going with Leeds +120 versus West Ham. Draw, no bet. We're going to protect ourselves a little here because I feel like this could be a draw, definitely so. But Leeds +120. They've gotten off to a slow start. This is a way to get them off. West Ham played Manchester United 2 games in a row. If you watch the Manchester United game earlier today, they struggled. I look for West Ham, who has spent a lot of energy the last 2 games, to struggle. Look for Leeds to take advantage of that. Leeds +120. Draw, no bet. Is our last pick of the day. Full slate of college football, full slate of boxing, little soccer mixed in there, and 1 horse race to go. So you should have your betting card full and enjoy the day. Be sure to like and subscribe to our Greenlight Network YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our content. We'll be dropping our NFL show today with our mutual picks 50 on 5 with Achilles Reign, our NFL picks for the day in our preview show. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss our college football shows. We'll have a recap of all the games on Monday. You could still check out our preview show before these games start to see how we did on the day. So don't miss any of our action. Be sure to follow us on Greenlight Network on YouTube. That's our show, and we're out.